This show is brought to you by Directory.com, the safest way to hire a contractor.
And we are back. Next story is 15-year insurance nightmare. Jason has the details. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, this is an interesting story. Another long battle with the insurance companies. So Silva and Paul Miner watched their home get torn apart by a hurricane and spent the next 15 years fighting their insurance company. What unfolded was dramatic legal battle over lowball payouts, hidden internal memos, and allegations of bad faith. It started all the way back in August of 2005. Hurricane Katrina destroys the miners' beachfront home in Mississippi. They had over $1 million policy with USAA that covered wind but not flood damage. In 2006, the miners file a claim. USAA sends out adjusters and engineers. Early 2006, USAA engineer firm says some shingles, trim, windows were damaged by wind, but most of the home was destroyed by a 10-foot storm surge. So USAA only pays out $37,000. By mid-2006, the miners challenged USAA, arguing the home was worth much more. USAA asked them to provide proof. Late 2006, after the miners provided floor plans, photos, finally dug up its own pre-storm files and reevaluated the wind damage from USAA, they issued a supplement payment of $194,322, bringing the total to $231,568. 2008, the miners sue for breach of contract in bad faith, demanding the full policy limits. 2013, the jury awards them $1.5 million, confirming USAA did not come close to covering their loss. 2017 to 2018, an appeals court approved the case for the proceedings and punt of damages, citing disturbing internal practices by USAA. October 22, new jury awards $10 million in damages and $458,000 in attorney fees. So it's going up dramatically in 22. December 2024, Mississippi Supreme Court affirms the $10.5 million and adds another $4.5 million in fees, bringing the total to $15 million. This is wild. Allegations of bad faith. USAA had detailed pre-Katrina files, floor plans, photos, appraisals that failed to use until late 2006, after the miners were forced to come up with their own appraisal. This supported the miners' claim that USAA delayed or denied payment without cause. An internal report on USAA found wind damage to all windows, and adjuster's memo confessed the company would be accountable to replace all windows, but labeled it confidential, keeping it out of the official claims systems. They're pretty dirty here from the insurance company. Quote from the memo: if we're paying for all the windows, it would open the contents into all the rooms with windows. You may want to discuss this with your team leader. You know he won't be happy with that. This is wild. USAA took almost 4 years to pay, even after acknowledging structural wind damage. The Mississippi Supreme Court emphasized that USAA's conduct ignored internal findings and delayed payment, violating its duty of good faith and punitive damage. This is wild, Dimitri. And it's crazy.
Here's the thing. I give huge credit and shout out to these people, because not many people will fight for 15 years. Like, honestly, a lot of people in this country, they don't stand for themselves. Like, I'm talking about roofers, I'm talking about the homeowners. They kind of count their losses and moving on. And I would argue moving on too fast. How many stories like this happen after Hurricane Katrina? And I would argue also, USA used to be one of the best insurance companies out there. I remember here in Minnesota dealing with the USA back in 2015, 2016. Word of the street was among contractors was one of the best insurance companies. They took care of their members. Like, actually, I'm surprised to see this back from 2005, because usually USA was good guys. And then 2019, 2020, I've heard that they've hired managers and consultants, the same consultants that helped monetize and get the most out of claims with the bigger players like State Farm and Allstate. And that's where everything went south. Like today, USSA is as bad as State Farm, as bad as Allstate. But overall, I would say they were good guys. Now, here you have a homeowner who's dealing with this looks to me they probably have some money, because who can afford, such a lengthy lawsuit? And, it was a beachfront home in Mississippi. So beachfront, second property, but they stood their grounds. I mean, a lot of people did not have it. Crazy.
Yeah, this is a long fight. I think from my experience, USAA used to be really a good company to deal with, and it looks like the biggest issues here is the confidential, like all the memos that they were hidden and trying to get out of the claim, and the contents in the house. They tried to get out of paying for that by acknowledging that there was window damage and the windows were blown. And it's just wild. Like they could have picked the more integrity route and solved this problem much further than what they took it.
But also, just like in a previous claim, so they started with 37,000. Late 2006, we went to 194, then 231, which is still nothing. And then from 2006, from 231, we went to jury award of 1.5 million. And I'm just curious, how do you go from 1.5 to 10 million? This is, again, good for this homeowner. Like if you break down, 15 years. So what's the total amount here? 10.5? Is it 10.5 plus 10?
15 million after attorney fees
Yes.
And punitive awards, like 15 million total.
So divided by 15 years, it's $1 million a year. Like that's actually how I look at a business. If you build a business and you sell it for $3 million, you might, lose money some years or break even. But if you, take what you sold the business for, divided by years, you've been like, you're pretty good. Like you've done pretty good. The same here. The reward, or in this case, award is usually at the end. And of course, nothing is guaranteed. What do you think gonna happen next? Because we do see Allstate and State Farm, answering to Congress. There's so many eyes on insurance company these days, and I'm just curious, what's gonna happen? I think one of the two things will happen. It's either insurance companies start folding, and people will not start investing in that business, like pretty much, start getting out of what State Farm did at LA, California. They're just like, we're coming out of the state. So pretty much going out of business. Or we're going to see this trend where more and more people will be suing insurance companies, and they'll just be paying more and more and go bankrupt at the end of the day. Because government is big enough to make them pay.
Yeah, this is surprising. And honestly, it was a 10-foot storm surge. So think about 10 foot and you live on the beach, there's going to be a massive amount of damage. And to try to get out for 37 grand on a beachfront home that blew out their windows, that's probably not even to cover just the windows, right? So I think what the insurance company should learn is like bad faith. Like you're not going to get anywhere with the confidential bad faith stuff that they're doing. But honestly, a lot of lawyers just don't take it far enough for the customer when they're representing the person against the insurance company, because they too probably need the money. So whenever there's a settlement, a lot of times they take it, where you can see in this case, they just kept going and they actually got probably what they deserve, with, if not more.
How do you feel about lawyers in this situation? Because lawyers also become ambulance chasers, just like, in other industries. And it becomes also a very big part of the puzzle. So now you have a lot of lawyers, who are powerful, pro bono. They go after these claims, whether you have a case or not. They go after just to settle for something. And I feel like in Florida, you probably have seen cases that should not be litigated, should not go to courts. But a lot of lawyers are taking advantage of that. Is it the beginning of it? Because lawyers also can be gold diggers, thinking about, okay, how about I go for this $15 million claim? And, if they take 30%, $5 million goes to the firm.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad players no matter how you look at it. But in this case, you can see like the confidential stuff where they tried to hide stuff, and the bad faith is actually what caused this to go south for the insurance company. So I think if they were to do the right thing in the beginning, it's going to actually stop as many bad players from lawyers too getting involved in this. So they can litigate the damage by like stepping up at the beginning and or not trying to hide it and just being honest and pay up when it's time to pay. But yeah, there's going to be bad players on both sides every time. We see that in Florida all the time, especially with vehicles. We have the signs here everywhere that my lawyer got me X amount of dollars. It's on every sign. And honestly, we beat one of those lawyers, and they're a huge lawyer here in town. And I wanted to put my own sign up that we beat them, you know, like a billboard.
Oh, wow. I would say at the end here, fight for your rights, stay to the end, 15 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it takes. It might be exhausted, but like if you already have a property, and it sucks for the homeowner. I mean, imagine you have, that property on the beachfront probably going to be like million, 2 million, I don't know the worth, but it's probably expensive property. You bought it. It's maybe investment, maybe all your savings. You want to fight for it. And I remember Chad Wilson, who beat State Farm many, many times. He shared the story where he said, after we beat them, it was like $60,000 settlement. They're just laughed. They're just like, it's nothing. You think you won? Like, it's a numbers game for insurance companies too. Like, you can bring this case. I mean, they know that this is one, in hundreds of thousands claims. I mean, how many claims were affected by Hurricane Katrina? And this is one of the very few with a multi-million-dollar settlement. This is just not common. So insurance companies probably laughing like, okay, after 15 years, we're going to write this check. But I would say what's needed is this radio show, media coverage. They brainwash you with the propaganda, how good they are. We're going to keep sharing stories, how bad they are, so people know the truth. When we come back, we have another crazy story from Miami condo saga. Don't go anywhere.